Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It's Wednesday morning. Guys. Every case that gets well known in the media and on social media gets its fair share of crazies. Crazies who like to spread ridiculous theories around with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. But there's a certain element of the true crime community that will believe them. So this morning, what I want to present to you is a crazy theory. And I'm going to debunk it based on the most basic of logic. Now, this person has been living it large, shall we say, on social media. I don't know how many people really believe this person, but we're going to debunk this theory anyway, because it's ridiculous. All right, guys, let's go. So this is from their Facebook profile. And this tells us that Brian Kohberger is innocent. Well, not quite innocent, because it appears that he was the getaway driver. So at the very least, he'd be an accessory to murder. But let's go with this theory that Brian Kohberger is innocent. Brian Kohberger had no knowledge these murders were going to occur. Brian Kohberger never got out of his car. All Brian did was drive. Okay, so he was the getaway driver, right? All he did was drive. Now, we heard from the probable cause affidavit. Brian Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra was seen all over the place, caught by numerous surveillance cameras on the night of the murders. They saw the white Elantra and his phone travelling down from his home onto the road that takes you to Moscow, Idaho. He then did a drive-by of the police station. He drove around the neighbourhood. He kept coming backwards and forwards. And then at 4 minutes past 4 in the AM, he was seen doing a 3-point turn. 16 minutes later, he was seen speeding away. He then did this big convoluted route to get home again. And he only got home about 5:30 in the AM of November 13th. Brian was just the getaway driver, so maybe this long convoluted route was to drop people off back at their homes, like a taxi driver. Yeah, right. Okay. Brian Kohberger was not the mastermind of the plan. It was someone else. The real mastermind of the plan wasn't even there. But I can't tell you his name. Oh, okay. Brian Kohberger will be fully exonerated of all wrongdoing, as will Brent Kohberger. Now, there's been lots of crazies talking about that Brent Kohberger was an accomplice of Brian Kohberger. No, he wasn't. Just because Brent Kohberger died by the hands of a police marksman after holding his roommates hostage, I guess, it doesn't mean to say that he had anything to do with the Idaho murders. He was mentioned by Brian's dad when the cops stopped them in Indiana on the way back to Pennsylvania on the 15th of December. The incident involving Brent Kohberger had just happened like a couple of days before, so it was fresh on their minds. But people put two and two together and got 36 million with no evidence at all. But according to this person, Brian Kohberger will be fully exonerated. Well, no, he won't, because if he was the getaway driver, what did he do? Just drive them there? Drive them there, waited for them to commit the murders, and then drove them away? Did he not ask any questions? Was there no blood on them? Whose was the knife? Because it had Brian Kohberger's DNA on it. And it was proven, and this is in the probable cause affidavit, it was proven that Brian's dad, whose DNA they got from his trash, was the biological father of the person who left the DNA on the knife sheath. So, are you saying that these killers are also the biological children of Brian's dad? Or was it Brian's knife? They didn't leave any DNA. And it was Brian's knife. So he gave them a knife then. All right, so he drove them there, gave them a knife with his DNA on it, and then drove away. That doesn't sound like somebody who could be fully exonerated to me. But anyway, let's carry on. Fry, Josh Couch, Cody Funk, and Scott Jr. did the murders. So he's naming people here. Naming people. Can't name the mastermind of the plan, but can name the murderers. It is Scott Jr.'s 2017 Sonata on the CCTV from the gas station. It's Fry's truck on the grub truck CCTV. So Scott Jr. and Fry brought their own vehicles to the area. So did they leave their vehicles wherever, somewhere, and all jumped into Brian's car? Why? Why? Look, this doesn't pass the basic sniff test of logic. Never mind being what really happened. In my opinion, of course, Fry was wearing the Vans. The timeline is wrong. Entirely wrong, is it? All right, what's the timeline then? If the cops have got it so wrong, what's the timeline? Dylan really did freeze. She was the main target of all 3 attacks. So apparently there's been 3 attacks on Dylan's life, and she really did freeze. She was quoted in the PCA saying she was in a frozen shock phase after seeing a masked man wearing black walking through her home past her bedroom door. And she really did freeze. Now, this flies in the face of what Ashley Banfield has reported from one of her sources recently, that Dylan had shouted at her housemates to be quiet. You know, there was screaming and noise going on, and she told them to be quiet. And then when she saw the masked figure, she thought it was some kind of prank or a friend of her housemates or whatever, right? And actually, Ethan's sister-in-law had wrote on Reddit a long time ago now that Ethan's family had questions for Dylan. Why did she take so long to call 911? Now, Ethan's sister-in-law has been verified by Reddit. Doesn't mean to say what she's saying was the truth, but is she one of Ashley Banfield's sources? But I digress. According to this person, Dylan really did freeze, and she was the target. The fight at Pi 5 was about Dylan. The roommates found out about her being trans from the OnlyFans. So according to this theory, Dylan is trans. Well, okay, well, how come there are pictures of Dylan on the internet as a little girl? If she was born male and transitioned to female, she must have done it when she was very young. I mean, very young. So it's kind of not likely, is it? But I guess these theories just ignore evidence to the contrary. Or is she female to male? She doesn't look very masculine. But yeah, whether or not she's trans is irrelevant to the fact that 4 innocent people were murdered. But my bet is she isn't trans and this is nonsense. Okay, so the roommates found out about her being trans from the OnlyFans, not because she had surgery in Jan. Naturally, they told all the Greeks. No one in Moscow can keep a secret. Dylan was rushing Pi Phi. Everyone found out she's trans, even though there's pictures of her on the internet as a little girl. A little girl. A fight went down. People left and were kicked out of Pi Phi. That was the first attempt on Dylan's life. So, okay, there was a fight involving Dylan, and this clearly wasn't reported to the cops, or was it? Did Dylan report this attempt on her life to the cops? You think there'd be some kind of record of that? You know, this crazy person here, does he have the record of that? That was the first attempt on her life? The second attempt on her life was at 1122 King Road. The killer who was going to harm her stood there staring at her. She stood there staring at him. They were both in shock. The killer fled because he couldn't hurt Dylan. So even though Dylan had been the target of these 4 killers, they chickened out of killing Dylan, their main target, but instead killed 4 innocent people who were in their bedrooms at the time. So why did they flee? I mean, it says the killer, but there's 4 people here who did the murders. So if one person chickened out from killing Dylan, didn't the other 3 step in and finish the job? Or were they too busy killing 4 innocent people who it seems were just collateral damage in this theory? This is nonsense. Bethany survived because Cody wouldn't let anything happen to her. Right. So Bethany wasn't a target, but Dylan was. Yet she also survived. The 3rd attempt on Dylan's life was Monday of last week. She was not supposed to survive the attack, but she did, because someone called the cops. So where's that report? Where's that report? Right? Because cops were involved. Show me that report. So presumably this was the killers not chickening out this time. But unfortunately for them, she survived. I'm not believing this until I see a police report, a criminal complaint. Don't you think the media would have been all over it if Dylan had been attacked? Don't you think? But no, this person knows everything and no one else knows the truth. Dylan was the one who was supposed to be terminated. There were motives for everyone else, but at the end of the day, they really were collateral damage. So they were collateral damage, but there was motives to kill them as well. So presumably all 5 of them were a target then. Well, okay, yet again, why did the killers manage to go through with 4 stabbings? Brutal deaths. But yet spare Dylan, the main target. I know who has the missing K-bar, GoPro, and FIDO key. Well, are you going to tell the cops? Have you told the cops who's got these things? I know everything about the drugs. I know everything about the balloons. I know everything about the murders, all of it. Do you? Okay. Hopefully, if this all goes to plan, the truth about Hannah and Hudson will be coming out, and I will have gotten them the justice they deserve. I don't know who Hannah and Hudson are. I am really looking forward to Wednesday. Well, that's today. Presumably you mean this Wednesday, or do you mean just some random future Wednesday? You know, Wednesday happens every week, doesn't it? So which Wednesday? What's happening on Wednesday? I told you the feds brought me into the fold because I'm trans. So just because you're trans and Dylan's allegedly trans, the feds are going to trust you with all of this information. Well, how do they feel about you telling the world all of this information on your social media? I'm guessing they're not too happy about it. You know, if this was true, what you're doing, you're tainting a jury pool, aren't you? But my guess is the feds have no idea who you are and have not brought you into the fold, and you're making this nonsense up. Or you're deluded and you really believe it. Go ahead and don't listen to me, though. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine by me. Game over, I win. I know effing everything. Well, it's not a game, is it? Right, there's no winners in these crazy theories. All there is crazy theories. And families who get hurt by this nonsense. And Dylan, of course. All of these lies going around about her. Whether or not she's trans is irrelevant. Whether or not you're trans is irrelevant. You are deluded if you believe this. And anybody who believes these crazy theories that do not pass the sniff test of basic logic. I finally put it all together because I got huge reliable intel from a third source. Now, well, I thought the cops had told you what happened. I thought the feds had told you. So is this another source tonight? It made all the other pieces fall into place. people are going to be eating their words, and I am cackling about it. So you're cackling about a quadruple murder and allegedly numerous attacks on Dylan's life. You're cackling about that, are you? Absolute nonsense. If you have actual evidence that you can show us, like police reports, information that only someone on the inside would know, then let us know. Otherwise, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. I'll see you in the next video. It's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.